Have someone else on the phone too, and it's apropos because we were just talking about this with Heffelfinger, and it's now that there's videos going around showing you the incident, it's what does that say? What does use of force and the law and the ability for officers to protect themselves if they fear their life's in danger or if they fear harm, or is it actually in danger? These are a lot of heavy questions that we visited a lot in this state, unfortunately, over the last decade because of cases similar to this. Right now, we have Ed Obayashi on the phone, who's a use of force expert that we've spoken to before. Ed, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Ed, can you give everybody your credentials real quick so that we know who we're speaking with and your background on this topic?
So I am a deputy sheriff in California, but I also serve as a special prosecutor in California also.
Have you had a chance to look at some of the videos that have been circulating on social media?
Yes, I have.
All right. Well, we'd love your opinion. What have you seen and what do you make of it?
Well, at the outset, I have seen only what everybody else has seen at this point. And I make that as a point because I don't have any additional information to go by. But based on what I see, obviously there's going to be an investigation. The investigation will be led by the U.S. government, typically the FBI. The FBI will have jurisdiction over this investigation and no one else. The state of Minnesota can certainly investigate, but the ultimate charging authority would remain with the federal government, not with Minnesota. Minnesota has no jurisdiction over issues such as these. They can try to assert jurisdiction, but immediately the case would be removed to the federal court, and the federal court will assume jurisdiction. That is just routine. In terms of the actual incident itself, this is a fast-evolving incident, literally seconds. From the angle of the videos, we see that the firing agent is directly in front of the vehicle as it begins to move. It's a suddenly move. It's not just this. It's a deadly weapon. So the question is going to be, did the officer reasonably believe that this vehicle constituted an immediate threat? Again, these situations are not uncommon. The officer, regardless of whether the driver was driving, trying to turn to the officer's left as it appears, it's going to be analyzed. How quickly did this occur? Again, viewing the videos from the angles that were taken, it does appear that the officer was in imminent danger. We're talking about split seconds here. So the question ultimately, will be settled by what was the officer's reasonable belief regarding whether or not his life or the life of others were in imminent danger. So it'll be dissected, trisected, sliced and diced from every angle by the investigators.
Does it ultimately depend, Ed, on what the officer believes as the final say, or does the evidence and the video, can it trump what the officer feels like? What I'm asking is, I believe in the video the officer is near the side mirror, right, when the shot's fired, maybe a little bit in front of that, sort of by the tire, but not in the fender when the shots are fired. I could be wrong, but that's what I saw in my couple of glances at the video. So if the officer is in fact out of harm's way, meaning even in 0.1 second out of harm's way, and the car is moving past the officer when the shot is fired, if the officer still felt like his or her life was in danger, would that qualify a correct use of force? Am I clear with that?
Yes, I think I understand what you're asking. From my angle, it appears that the firing officer was just feet away, directly in the path of the vehicle as it suddenly accelerated. The shots were, from what I understand, fired through the windshield. So it wasn't a sideways shot like through the driver's side window. Again, from the angle of the videos that I saw, it does appear that the firing officer was in the direct path of the vehicle before the vehicle started moving towards the right.
The officer may have been hit as well by the
regard-
vehicle, actually. The officer may have actually
Yeah.
been struck.
Yes, exactly. But we can't tell from any of the videos that I reviewed. So again, the evidence will be analyzed to see if it coincides or supports the officer's point of view. It's not uncommon where an officer will relay and explain why his or her use of force was reasonable despite the evidence showing otherwise. And the evidence is, again, going to be applied, analyzed by experts, but it's going to be analyzed in conjunction with what the officer's reasonable beliefs were. And that can be supported by witness statements, his colleagues, et cetera.
And Ed,
Time and motion.
if I could just interrupt for a second,
Time and
too.
motion. Yeah.
It's important to note that that's one angle, maybe two. There are a couple videos circulating. We do know, as of August, ICE officers have been required to wear body cameras. So ostensibly, there will be lots of video from lots of different angles, including the officer who fired the weapon and the officer who may or may not have been in harm's way. You've got a lot of experience in looking at instances like this across the country. Can you give us a couple examples of situations where information that came out initially, may or may not have been proven true? Is there anything that this reminds you of, or any experience you can draw on to help shed some light here?
Yes. No, good question. There are a number of cases, similar incidents where I have viewed body-worn camera footage, cell phone footage, which are almost identical to the incident at hand, where initially the video evidence would suggest to a ordinary person of reasonable, wisdom, if you want to call it, common sense, that the shooting was not justified. However, after further review by experts, breaking the video down, and then conducting the time and motion analysis, and then comparing it with how the officer saw it and the other officers who were present, explains why the video may not have told the whole story. I guess that's the way to put it, because everyone has to realize that body-worn camera, these videos, whether the body-worn camera videos or cell phone videos, are only a representation of a two-dimensional, from two-dimensional viewing angles. The third dimension, meaning the officer's perceptions, the eyesight, the senses, feel, touch, etc., the environmental considerations, is critical in coordinating, applying that to the body-worn camera video. So all that has to come into play, and a lot of that is going to be based on, again, human subjective analysis and perception, which obviously isn't quantifiable, but you can qualitate it.
Right.
Especially based on training and experience.
Well, and the reason I ask that question is because we have two very distinctive narratives coming out already on what happened this morning in Minneapolis. One from the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, saying this was clearly justifiable force. This person was using the car as a deadly weapon. And then you have the mayor of Minneapolis saying that that is basically BS, that is not true. He called that,
quote unquote.
Exactly. He's using very strong language that basically DHS is lying, and it's very clear what happened here. Any words of wisdom for all of us who are watching, for our elected officials, for our federal and local authorities? To me, this just seems as if everyone is rushing really quickly on both sides of the aisle here.
Yes, and again, whether the federal government or the state of or Minneapolis has different information, again, who knows? But that is very common in these situations. Whether or not it specifically applies to ICE, or if this was even a bank robbery and the shooting occurs, there's always going to be two sides that develop immediately after these incidents. It's just human nature. Yeah. And especially under these circumstances, given the parties involved and the atmosphere, I get it. I think we all get it. Again, it is way too early.
Right.
And I cannot overemphasize that. This is way too early to properly determine what exactly happened and whether or not the shooting was reasonable. This is going to take months to analyze. The audience needs to understand, I've never been involved in an officer-involved shooting investigation that was completed even within 6 months. Right. Typically, they can go on for well over a year. Wow. Forensic evidence, witness interviews. Here you have multiple witnesses, civilians, law enforcement. They're going to have to analyze this, all the videos, compare them with each other, do a matrix comparison. They're going to bring in human physiology experts to explain how long it takes for the common individual, never mind an officer, to be able to perceive the threat.
And it's set, Ed, if I'm sorry to interrupt you, and it's set in the middle of an active campaign to remove undocumented immigrants and criminals from the street. So it's in the middle of all this right now, which makes it even more contentious. Ed, we got to turn to another report right now. We're very grateful that you joined us. Use of force expert out in California, Ed Obayashi. Thank you so much for your insight into this complex investigation.